Okay, welcome to the drum this week. Okay, welcome to the drum this week again from Richmond, and we have a very special guest. But before I introduce him, we've also got on the show tonight Puff Daddy with a new clip from Godzilla, Dario G, The Living End, and the man himself, Richie. Welcome to home. Congratulations first on the album.
Thank you, sir.
A great album, and some amazing players, and a fantastic producer, Don.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Because, I mean, the last album you did yourself, right? Or co-produced
Yeah,
yourself?
I co-produced it myself.
Why Don this time?
Well, I've always, first of all, I mean, how can you not love Don?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he produced the last 3 Rolling Stones record, Elton John, you know, Bob Dylan. We met through a friend of mine, you know. I wrote some songs, and I always bounce it off one of my friends, and he happened to know Don. And he just set me up with him, and I think Don expected something really different from me.
Right.
He was never a big Bon Jovi fan, I guess, or whatever. You know, you could tell by his records. And then when he heard me sing in the first 2 songs, he turned around. He said, "Is that you?" You know. And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "I want to do this. Let's tell the world that you could sing and you're a songwriter."
Right.
Just, you know, beyond the band, you know.
So. Well, I mean, certainly with, I mean, the songs on it, they're fantastic songs. I mean, they're very personal songs in some respect. But did you write them specifically for the album, or did you write them over a period of time, you know?
They were written specifically for this record.
Yeah?
I started to write them at the end of the last tour in '96. And I knew I had something going. I was coming on to a very, very prolific period of time as a writer, you know? I knew I was onto something. And then when Don came aboard, I knew that I had something, you know, a good album brewing, and I felt that it was like a beginning of a new step in my career, you know, in a whole other direction.
With the recording side of it, of putting the album together with Don, I mean, did you spend, I mean, how much time did you spend in the studio doing it, for instance? Because this is such a clean album, you know?
Yeah. It was done over a period of about 8 months, because Don was recording the Rolling Stones.
Right.
It was a really great way to make a record, because you know, we would write, and then I would come into the studio, and I'd put like a bunch of people together, like I'd have Billy Preston and Rami Jaffe from the Wallflowers and Kenny Aronoff on drums, and Don would play bass on some, and then we had Pino Palladino come in and play bass on other things. So it was done over a period of time. We took a break in the middle. I had my kid.
Yeah.
I took a couple months off to have
We'll show the photo in a moment. Very proud dad.
Very proud dad.
Yeah.
And it was done over a period of months, but what you say about being a clean record, Don and I, specifically, philosophically, about the music, we felt that, to us, good records were records that you could hear the musical conversation between the musicians.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Very much so.
You know what I mean? So when you have musicians like, you know, Billy Preston, Steven Tyler came in and played some harp on If God Was a Woman. So if you have those great musicians in a studio situation like that, there's not a lot of real production that you have to post-production. You know, you got to put stuff on afterwards.
Sure.
Just leave it clear.
Yeah.
Let the people hear Billy Preston communicating with me and Rami and Don, and let that be clear, you know. And that's the kind of the way we made this record, which is, I think, a rootsy approach.
Okay, now listen, we'll play the current single, In It For Love, and meantime, then you can just grab that photo. I've got to show the baby photo, all right?
My pleasure.
Okay, let's have a look at In It For Love. Okay, there it is, In It For Love. I must say, live, you're fantastic with the band. I mean, it's just been amazing.
Thank you. It has been great.
And we were saying before, like when you did IMT earlier this week from Heaven Disco, that can be really dicey, you know, because you don't have that much rehearsal, and that sounded spot on. You know?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good band.
Ah, fantastic. In It For Love, that's the single. Show us the baby. Come on.
Well, here's the baby. There you go. Ava Elizabeth. Yeah. She's my new love in my life. More kids. That's what I keep telling my wife, you know. I'm doing a lot of practicing, so that's good.
With, just on your family life, with you and Heather, I mean, how do you balance your lives? Because your schedule's, you know, so hectic.
You know, it's just really, really cutting out a place for our personal life. That's very important. I mean, it's got to be a priority, because with her being so busy and me being so busy, you know, it's great, you know, on the solo run, for me, I'm the king of my own destiny, and I, you know, the purveyor of my own time, so to speak. So it's a cool thing for me. You know, I mean, I just kind of like carve out a place for it in my life, and so does she.
Now, tell me, when maybe sort of like, you know, she's done and the studio's filming, etc., and then it comes on telly, do you give a critical appraisal? And does she also give a critical appraisal of, say, this album or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
We, you know, we have a Melrose annual Melrose party every week. You know, I mean, we watch it. She, you know, she's working so hard that she needs to watch the other people in the storylines because, you know, when she's doing her scenes and everything like that, you know, she's not really. She doesn't understand what's going on, like in 2 sets over. You know what I mean? So she needs to watch it every week to know what's going on, to know how to play her character the next week.
Right.
So it's pretty interesting.
Well, I find it interesting with this with the album, the way you have sort of like start off the story about it being a Jersey kid, etc., etc. You know, going back to Bon Jovi time, when you first started, I mean, did you ever imagine that A, the band would become one of the biggest bands in the world, and B, you'd embark on a solo career?
I think that I couldn't have written that success story any better. Let's face it, you know. I mean, that's just it was unbelievable. You know, when we hit, I mean, even when we came here that first time, it was bigger than big. You know, I mean, it was just so big. No, I could have never imagined that. But as far as making my own records, I knew I'd always make my own records. I always felt that as a singer, I could pull it off. You know, I've been really having a great time. I missed it in the band. You know, I'm so passionate about what I do.
Right.
And I quite frankly, I missed it.
I mean, when you consider that the enormity of what Bon Jovi has been, and the longevity of a band like yourselves, whereas the other bands have come and gone, and other sorts of music have come and gone, and yet Bon Jovi and you and John on the different projects are so successful. Why, do you think? I know the reason why, but I'll ask you.
I think it's good songs.
Yeah.
Personally. I mean, I think that's number one, and hard work and perseverance.
Yeah.
Always trying to take your craft and evolve, I think, and also the foundation of our business, I think, is good songs. And we really work hard, I think, at making sure there's always good songs on the record.
Because, I mean, the thing is that what I've found with and it's not pissing in your pocket, of where going right back, you've always been accessible. You and John especially, well, the whole lot, but sort of just say you and John, this unbound energy, and also nothing seems to be too much of a problem for you. The interviews, working hard, etc., etc. And still, you know, you're the same.
Yeah, well, it's a part of it, I think. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, let's have a look at Wanted, Dead or Alive, one of the big songs of Bon Jovi. In fact, I played this at the club the other night, and I thought it would turn rock and roll head into a rock club. In fact, I'm sure old Frank and Gudinski would have panicked. Wanted, Dead or Alive. There it is, Bon Jovi with Wanted, Dead or Alive. During that time, was it hard, I mean, to sort of really, I mean, with all the success and all the demands that were made on you as a band and individually, was it hard?
I had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I was single and I really didn't have anything else going at the same time. So my focus was really primarily the band and being successful. So, I mean, and quite frankly, as a musician, when you're trying so hard to, just to get a record deal, and then you finally get something going and it starts to go. No, it was enjoyable. I think the hardest part possibly was the length of time that we toured.
Yeah, you toured.
We toured too much, I think.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, a couple of guys, had to go into rehab and things like that. So it got to a place where it got a little dangerous, just on a time factor.
Yeah, and on top of it all, I mean, you never cut costs or anything like that. They were like huge shows. I remember, where was it? I think it was at. Well, we were in Minneapolis or somewhere where I came to the show and you had the full-on, that ladder thing, and walking.
Oh, yeah, across the, we
I was seeing things, sort of thing like. But I mean, the band never pulled back from that, did they? You gave your rock audiences what they wanted.
Exactly. I think that, some of the things that people forget, and musicians forget nowadays, that we are entertainers. And you can't, you have to play ball on an entertainment level too, because if people come to see your shows, I think that's why people come back to see Richie Sambora. They come back to see Bon Jovi because they know they're going to have a really passionate, good show, and they're going to get their money's worth.
Right. I mean, I was doing an interview actually yesterday for a newspaper, and they were saying about the current groups. They seem to have, some of them, a self-destruct button. I mean, if for different reasons, obviously, with Kurt and Nirvana, but even if you look at, say, Oasis or something like that, they all seem to want to self-destruct for some reason.
Yeah, it's true. It's a strange thing. I mean, I don't really know why that is. I mean, some of the stuff in the grunge period, I think it came out of a very angry and angst position, you know. And a band like Bon Jovi, I think, just kind of mirrors society with our songs. You know, we kind of just like pick up what's going around and kind of.
Well, that is definitely reflective in this album, where you are mirroring parts of society and that, you know.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
it's a very wise album. This album.
Oh, thank you. I think you know, songs it's a communicative language. To me, when I listen to a good song, it keeps me company. You know, it's like music. Pop music is underestimated, and you know, I mean, I think it really is, because it really helps people get through good times and bad times, and you know, it could be a friend.
Well, I tell you what, let's check out the Oz charts for this week. Over to the Oz charts right now.
The Cup of Life.
All right, there it is, the Oz charts for this week. As you see, Ricky Martin, Cup of Life, is massive #1. But #2 is Metallica with Fuel, and that's great to see that. Metallica are a great band. Have you ever crossed paths?
Many times, many times. Yeah, they're good guys, too. I've spent a few nights with them. One night in Amsterdam, I seem to particularly remember really well. Great guys.
With being on the road so much, do you give it much of a chance to go out and see other bands? I mean...
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of music, you know. Yeah. I think that's really important, you know. I mean, to keep up and see what's going on today. And I mean, just a band like Metallica, I think they have a similar kind of work ethic as we do, you know. I mean, they're the same way. They stay on the road for a long time, really work hard, you know. Yeah. And yeah, no, I keep up. I try to buy about 5 CDs a week and see as many shows as I can possibly see.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I want you to check out this band. They're called Living Come Out of Australia. I mean, and it's such an active music scene here. And I think that was mirrored for yourself as well, because, like, to see, you know, like Heaven going right off, you know, and that's normally a dance sort of club sort of come on. And then the Mercury Lounge, and tonight you're doing the Palais. I mean, Australian audiences get into it, don't they?
Totally, totally. It's a great audience to play to. I mean, I kind of felt, you know, I always knew it, and coming here on my solo trip now, I really, you know, I'm enjoying the audiences so much. I mean, it's just like, if you throw the energy to an Australian audience, they're going to throw it back at you. And that's the great interplay of playing live, you know. It's like, you know, that push and pull. Yeah.
I mean, that's something you've always done, both you and John, of that interaction as well with your audiences. With the musicians that you had on the album, how did you go about, you know, getting them on the album? I mean, like...
basically, we're friends of Don and friends of me, you know. Luckily, throughout this business, it's, you know, you run into people, you know, throughout the years, and... Then, you know, because I made the album in a kind of a leisurely fashion in some ways. I just kind of waited till people came to town, and when they were in town, I just kind of rang them up, you know. I can say, you know, if they were doing some other records, or, you know, I mean, it was kind of a great way to make a record, because across the hall I had the Rolling Stones, you know, Springsteen's over here, and it's like, it was like a, you know, all musicians just kind of like gathering and enjoying each other. It was a really cool way to make a record.
I tell you, we're going to go to the break. We'll be back after the break, and we've got Puff Daddy and Five. And Puff Daddy, I mean, like, I think I think he thinks he's Cecil B. DeMille or something now, you know? Because his videos are totally over the top, and this one, believe me, is no exception. We'll be back. Right back with the drum and Richie. Now, with Bon Jovi, what are your favourite songs? The ones you like playing, or even, do you ever listen to your old albums?
Not too much. No. I went back and on the tour, I'm playing some Bon Jovi stuff live, and I put my particular spin on it. I got to say that songs like Wanted Dead or Alive, of course, is one of my favorites. Living on a Prayer. It seems to be a timeless song. I mean, no matter which way you throw it out, as far as a performer.
Well, that's an anthem, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, You'll Come and See Me Tonight. I do it in a totally different way.
Right.
Yeah, and it still holds up, you know. Songs like that seem to be timeless. I'll Be There For You, I think, is a good song. Never Say Goodbye is a really good song. And then, you know, I mean, you have the other real rock and roll stuff. But as far as a writer goes, I think, you know, on a lyrical basis, Living on a Prayer and songs like that are pretty much.
Tell me, with your writing, I mean, do you write the melodies first or the lyrics?
I have to... I mean, with John and I think that we sometimes come in with pieces of songs already written, and then we just turn them onto each other. But myself, I have to, increasingly, as my writing style evolves, I write from a title, because the title will tell me the mood of the color of the song, you know. You know, in other words, if you're going to write a ballad and you have a title like, say, All That Really Matters, that's not going to be. You're not going to color it with a rock and roll kind of or heavy metal kind of thing. So automatically that title is telling you where to put it in your mind. And to me, it's a song is like a screenplay in a way. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think a good movie, you can't lose that continuity. Because when it breaks, like,
Sure.
if the guy walks into the scene, he had a purple jacket on, and next scene he comes in with the pink jacket, you're going to go, it's full of baloney, right? So I think a writer has to have that continuity the same way in a song, and that's the way I kind of look at it, very visually.
Okay, one song that I love is this one, Lie to Me. On Jovi with Lie to Me, let's have a look at the US charts for this week. Cool.
On the US charts this week and up a few places to number 5 is Usher and My Way. At number 4, Mariah Carey with My All. At number 3, Next and Too Close. And not much change to the rest of the US charts with Shania Twain and Brandy and Monica making up the number 2 and 1 spot.
There it is, Brandy and Monica, number 1 on the US charts. Now, we were talking about videos before, and we're going to show this video of Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page, right? And this is totally over the top, you know. But you've had some big videos as well.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy making them?
I don't enjoy making videos that much. I mean, after you made 30 or 40 of them, it's really hard, what do you do? It's really, you say to yourself, what am I going to do to top the last thing I did, you know? And I mean, it just gets redundant after a while. But I think I've had my ups and downs with them. Like, now I like them again, but for a while I didn't enjoy them.
Mind you, I mean, the way you've done these videos, I mean, they're very reflective and great for the songs. I mean, they're pertinent to the songs. I think a lot of videos, over the period of time where the producers have got completely carried away, and it has literally nothing to do with the music whatsoever, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is unfortunate. Now, with Puff Daddy, I think he does think he's just to be the mill because over the last couple of videos, he's just got bigger and bigger. And this one from Godzilla, it's Come With Me, which is of course, the old Led Zeppelin song of Kashmir, of the rework of that. And this is something else. This is quite absurd. I mean, and apparently, you said you've heard it's cost millions, or even recording the thing with Jimmy.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever done that with a musician, or where you've had the musician over in London? And
never did it yet. I think that seems like pretty absurd to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem...
Because what actually happened is that when they were doing this, they had Jimmy Page in the London studio, and Puff was over in New York, was it?
That's right. They rented the satellite time or something.
And had the satellite time with Jimmy actually playing the guitar, you know. And I've got to tell you that Jimmy, when we were in New York for the big premiere of Godzilla, I've never seen someone with a more stunned face in his life, you know. Thinking, why am I here and what am I doing, you know? But that's Saturday Night Live before, which is good. But here is the video itself. All right, back with the drum with Richie now. Going out in a solo career, I mean, for all those years that you were with Bon Jovi, I know you're married now with Heather and that, but did you ever miss it when the band would sort of take a long semester or whatever?
I think it, not really. It keeps it fresh,
Yeah.
I think it's important to take a little break, and like I said, I've missed singing and evolving on my own, within a band structure. You have to keep tight within the, four other guys,
Sure.
It's like a marriage in a way.
Yeah.
So it's nice it's almost like you get a chance to cheat on that marriage a little bit, you know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting.
All right, well, do you like, coming from Jersey, right, and I mean, it's got a life of its own over in New Jersey. Do you ever reflect back of the times that, even in your songwriting, in your mind of those times?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I have a pretty acute emotional memory, and I can remember things that happened. My factual memory isn't as good as it used to be due to the late 80s, probably, from being here.
Right.
but my
Nothing to do with that.
my emotional memory is very, very acute. So, taking me back to a time where maybe I got my heart broken, or growing up in New Jersey, or growing up, I think that was a very important thing.
I mean, from those times, I mean, your songwriting, you and John's songwriting reflected so much of that time. It painted a picture of of Jersey, as Springsteen did in his own way as well.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I think, what else do you write about? I mean, you really, really try to, take your own life experience and hopefully try to transcend that through a song where people are going to be able to, relate their own lives to it.
Sure.
I think that we all have so much common human life experience. That's what it's about.
Okay, well, now, the first track from the album, Hard Times Come Easy, tell us about that song.
It's precisely about what we're talking about. The ups and downs of life, no matter what walk of life you are, you're going to have hard times in your life. You're going to, we all kind of we grow up. We have the hard times of growing up and going through that whole thing. And then, we all lose people in our life. We all have jobs, and there's always tension. And, everybody, you wake up in the morning, you never know what your day's going to be like. And it's everybody has those emotional ups and downs in life, up and downs.
With yourself, I mean, take that song. I mean, did you were saying before how you'll take a title or whatever. But this song, you know, it's got so much emotion in it as well. I mean, did you write it just like in 10 minutes or?
It was a pretty quick one. It probably was written in about 4 hours, I imagine.
Yeah.
But again, the title kind of told me exactly what to write about.
Yeah.
You know, hard times come easy. You got to think about, in a relationship, what happens. You know, there's a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. You know, in life, you know, you wake up and maybe your job's in jeopardy or something like that. So it kind of writes itself. And I think that all of us, you know, kind of like experience this.
I find it fascinating that you're able to sort of like, again, as I say, with both albums, but certainly this one, to be able to sort of be separate as a songwriter as well, in mind and the way you're putting things down, as opposed to being the songwriter of also with Bon Jovi, you know?
It's interesting.
I can't quite work out how you do that.
You know, I think that it comes to who you're working with.
Right.
So if I'm working with John, I think the chemistry will be different, and the songs are going to come out a little differently. If I'm working with Richie Sambora, if I'm writing songs by myself, or whoever, I think that the chemistry is very, very important. I think that I enjoy a good banter.
Right.
You know, a good conversation. I think I much prefer working with other writers than sitting in a room with a pen, you know, and just lamenting over something. You know what I mean? It gets to be pretty boring.
Well, I know you enjoy that because, I mean, like at the Mercury Lounge, I mean, I think everyone, the die-hard fans, are hoping, you know, maybe it'll give us an hour. I mean, 2.5 hours, you know? Encore after encore.
Probably be more tonight.
You're crazy. Hard times come easy. They sure do. It's a great song. I really enjoyed it. With the album, this touring that you're doing now, I mean, how much more touring are you going to do as a solo artist?
I'm going to continue probably up until November, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to be touring with Aerosmith in July.
Right.
We were supposed to open up for them because Stephen and I, of course, are friends. And, you know, he messed up his leg, you know. Something happened where the mic stand, you know, took out his knee.
Is he all right?
He's all right, yeah. I talked to him about a week ago. But, so I just put some shows on sale in Europe, and they're doing very well. I'm going to do 2 nights in London and Paris, and a couple nights in Germany, and a couple festivals, one in Spain and one in Switzerland.
Wow.
And then I go back home, and in August I'll be in South America. And in September.
I love South America.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well, I tell you, I wouldn't want to be in South America at the moment because I just heard that Brazil lost. And Brazil loses. It's going to happen. All right, let's talk about the UK. Let's have a look at the UK top 5 for this week, and here it is right now.
Checking out the UK chart this week, brand new at number 5 is the Beastie Boys with Intergalactic. At number 4, Pride's Michelle and ODB and Ghetto Superstar. Number 3, Bewitched and Sailor V. Taking the number 2 spot again this week is Fat Les and Vindaloo. And number 1 in the UK chart this week is Badiel and Skinner and Lightning Seeds with 3 Lions 98. Back to you, Molly.
Right, there it is, the UK top 5 for this week. In the UK and all those European festivals, I mean, they really are fantastic. I mean, and the crowds are so different, I find, from country to country. Obviously, they speak differently, but they really are varied, these audiences at times.
Yeah, the demographic changes, and I think that, you know, in London and England, it's unbelievable. There's much more of a metal kind of thing going on there. It's still very much alive there. You know, it's interesting.
And even up, I find, when you go up sort of like north, you know, if you're talking about like Sweden and places like that, are totally into heavy rock and metal and God knows what.
Still. It's interesting. I mean, it changes. It definitely does change from country to country.
In fact, I always remember going right back even before you were born, I think, went over to do when I went over to do ABBA, and this was in Sweden, and I just couldn't believe that walking around the shops, here was like AC/DC everywhere. You know, this was before AC/DC really broke worldwide. You know, and they were full into it. They really were. You know? Right, let's check out this particular track. It's Dario G with Carnival di Paris. You keep playing with my mind. Listen, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations again on the album. You and John and the rest of the boys, another album coming?
Yeah, I would imagine we'd probably get together in '99. You know, when I finished touring. You know, I've had some dialogue with John, as they say. And we're supposed to get back and write somewhere, you know, in the fall sometimes.
Right. And, I mean, you're one of the luckiest guys around married to such a beautiful lady. When are you going to bring her out?
Next time I help.
In fact, I've got to tell you, because there was a whole lot of St Kilda footballers here before, as you arrived. And before you arrived, they said, is he bringing his wife?
Sure, everybody loves to meet her, man.
Yeah, we'll give her my love. And as I said, she did a great job when I saw her host that VH1 Fashion Award. She should do more of that because she's very, very good.
Yeah, you know, she's quite a busy girl.
Yeah. and you're very lucky with that baby too. She's
Thank
beautiful.
you, sir.
All right, let's go with a track that's an old track, really. It's by Bus Stop, and it's one of those tracks I used to love playing. It's called Kung Fu Fighting. Thanks, Richie. Good night, Australia.
See ya.